Hello and welcome to Singapore Tonight. Coming up. A call on Singaporeans to stay in Singapore over the long National Day weekend to celebrate the nation's Golden Jubilee together. The importance of reducing the risk of natural disasters and Singapore's role in helping to deal with them. And calls for the rights of consumers to be protected amidst findings that cancelling wedding banquet bookings often incurs hefty and arbitrary penalties. Also in table tennis, Feng Tianwei claims Asian Cup gold for Singapore after defeating China's Liu Shiwen. Speaker of Parliament Halimah Yacob has called on Singaporeans to stay home over the long National Day weekend from 7th to 10th August. She hopes Singaporeans will take the time to celebrate together. 7th August was declared a public holiday by President Tony Tan Keng Yam as part of Singapore's 50th birthday celebrations.
I understand that Singaporeans take the opportunity during periods of long weekends to chill out with their families overseas. And on other occasions, that's all right. But on this occasion, I hope that they will stay in Singapore and really celebrate together as a nation. Because it will be really sad if a quarter of Singapore is gone overseas to celebrate.
Madam Halimah was speaking on the sidelines of an event marking World Consumer Rights Day. Also on the sidelines of the event, the Consumers Association of Singapore, CASE, released findings that calling off a wedding banquet can be expensive and arbitrarily so. Its surveys of hotels found no industry standard penalties in practice, with cancellation fees possibly much greater than the hotel's actual loss. This report by Le Coq Fai.
Wedding banquets at hotels can be expensive affairs, but so are the costs of cancelling one.
I know of a couple and they had to pay 50%. They cancelled, I think, about a year before the event. And they had to lose 50%. To me, which is quite ridiculous. Weddings are usually held during peak periods, June or December. Everybody's scrambling for a place to say that you have to pay 50% for something that's 1 year down the road. And then for a period which you can easily fill up, I think that's a little bit excessive.
And Madam Halimah isn't the only one who thinks so. In a survey of local hotels, Singapore's consumer watchdog found there were no industry standards when it came to determining such penalties. Instead, cancellation fees are decided by hotel management on a case-by-case basis. These penalties could be as high as the full cost of the contract, hitting over $50,000 for some consumers. While CASE said cancellation terms are based on private agreements between the hotel and consumers, it felt that these clauses should not be arbitrary and unfair to consumers who might not be emotionally in a position to bargain. Such practices include heavy cancellation penalties from the moment the contract is signed, and inflexibility, even in situations where another couple is able to take over the booking with sufficient prior notice. CASE also said any penalties and options should be stated clearly and transparently, appropriate to the actual costs incurred by hotels.
We are also going to talk to the hotels and ask them, look, what is your basis for giving such a high cancellation charge? And if they are unable to justify, we are going to push the hotels to say that, look, we're going to publish all your cancellation rates, and then consumers will be able to understand better what are each hotel's different rates. When they see that in terms of public perception, are they being fair in terms of their contract? I think most hotels will come along and work with us.
Over the past 4 years, the consumer watchdog has handled 23 cases involving cancellation of wedding banquets. It said over 90% of cases were resolved successfully, with consumers able to get a partial refund or smaller penalty fees.
Foreign Affairs Minister K. Shanmugam has spoken of the importance of reducing the risk of natural disasters and Singapore's role in helping to deal with them. Mr. Shanmugam was speaking at the United Nations World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, or DRR, in Sendai, Japan today. Our Japan Bureau Chief Michio Ishida reports.
The extent of the damage and the death toll in Vanuatu is still not clear on the second of the 5-day World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in Sendai. The United Nations wants a team dispatched to the island nation to assess the situation. The uncertain situation in the Pacific Island has been one of the main highlights at this conference, which aims to set a goal to reduce disaster risk. France has promised to extend emergency assistance and support its reconstruction, while Australia pledged $5 million and expressed readiness to deliver supplies for 5,000 people. At the conference, Foreign Affairs Minister K. Shanmugam expressed his condolences to those affected by the devastating cyclone.
Our thoughts and prayers are with them during this difficult period, and we in Singapore will help assist in the humanitarian efforts for Vanuatu. Disasters know no boundaries, and no country can deal with such disasters by itself. We have to emphasize collective security. More nations have to commit resources to share expertise to boost the DRR capacities of states which need them most.
Singapore, he said, has set up a disaster relief coordination center to help strengthen coordination efforts and share up-to-date information with militaries in the Asian region in the event of a natural disaster. Mr. Shanmugam also said Singapore and the United Nations will jointly conduct training on disaster risk reduction later this year in Singapore. Small Island Developing States, or SIDS, will benefit from the course.
This training course is targeted at helping developing countries, in particular the SIDS. It will focus on the needs of the small island developing states, which are particularly vulnerable to cyclones, and we hope that it will assist in their future disaster preparation, mitigation, and response capabilities.
The international conference is being held in Sendai, the largest city in northeastern Japan hit by the March 2011 earthquake. Michio Ishida, Channel NewsAsia, Sendai.
The Singapore Red Cross held its signature biennial fundraiser today at the Ngee Ann City Civic Plaza, featuring a bazaar showcasing international delicacies and colourful performances by the various participating embassies. The event aimed to raise about $250,000, which will go towards the organisation's local programmes. This Thai dance was among the colourful performances featured as part of the International Bazaar, a fundraising event organised by the Singapore Red Cross since 1994. It involved participants from 20 foreign embassies, 40 local and international enterprises, as well as local primary and secondary schools. President Tony Tan Keng Yam was at the event and sampled some of the delicacies at the 80 stalls present. Coming up after the break on Singapore Tonight, homegrown technology company Ingenious is now finalizing its plans to send a Singaporean towards space on May 12th. You're watching Singapore Tonight. Well, there's now a new trunk service to serve residents in Tanjong Pagar. Service 122 started running today. It followed residents' calls for better transport access from Dawson Road and Strathmore Avenue to Tiong Bahru in Chinatown. Senior Minister of State for Law and Education Indrani Raja launched the service today. Ms. Indrani, who is also MP for the area, joined residents in testing out the new bus route, travelling from Keh Siang Road, going past Tiong Bahru Plaza to reach Tiong Bahru Market. The bus also travels to areas like Outram Road, Alexandra and Tanglin Road, as well as Queensway and Commonwealth Drive. It will also connect residents to Outram Park, Tiong Bahru and Commonwealth MRT stations. Well, proving one can never be too old to learn life-saving skills. About 450 senior citizens gathered today to learn how to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, and use the automated external defibrillator, or AED. Aged 50 to 90, they were paired up with about 150 students from ITE College Central who are trained and certified in CPR and AED. It's part of the Think Health, Live Well Health Carnival, organised by the Ang Mo Kio CC Women's Executive Committee. Organisers hope to raise the awareness of such life-saving skills among seniors so more can help during an emergency. An estimated 1,800 people suffer from out-of-hospital cardiac arrest in Singapore each year, with only 3% surviving. About 6 in 10 of such cases happen to victims in the presence of someone they know. A running event was held this morning at the Punggol Waterway as part of a series of community programs to mark World Water Day. About 3,000 residents in Pasir Ris Punggol took part in the Northeast Compression Run. Apart from promoting a culture of healthy lifestyle, the event also got runners thinking about the importance of Singapore's water resource by getting them to write their own personal pledges on how they can plan to save water. Efforts are being stepped up to get Singaporeans to conserve water. Residents in Bukit Panjang were reminded of how they can do so as part of Chingay celebrations at the Heartlands this evening. The leading Chingay float featured posters on water conservation from the 1970s and 1980s. Environment and Water Resources Minister Vivian Balakrishnan was present at the event, along with MPs of the area. Volunteers also helped to spread the message on reducing, recycling and rationing water. The celebrations also saw the launch of a photo exhibition which captures the progress of Bukit Panjang town in the last 5 decades. Football fans can now take their love for the game off the pitch and onto their phones. An app was launched today allowing football enthusiasts to interact with each other, find football games or players close by, and even challenge each other to football matches. The app was launched at Xeon Sports earlier today. MP and Football Association of Singapore President Zainuddin Nordin was at the event. He said that the app will encourage more people to get going and start playing. The event also featured a youth challenge futsal tournament where 15 teams comprising of 100 young footballers pitted their skills against each other. Feng Tianwei has claimed the Asian Cup gold for Singapore following an impressive win against China's Liu Shiwen. Feng beat her opponent 4-2 in the final of the women's singles event at Sawai Mansingh Stadium in the Indian city of Jaipur today. The Singapore Table Tennis Association said these two top players in the tournament had been powered their way to the final over the last 3 days in Jaipur. Homegrown technology company Ingenious is making its final preparations to launch the first Singaporean into the frontier of space. This comes after the groundbreaking success of its recent test run, where 3 rats it had sent into space in a prototype capsule from Hyderabad, India, returned to Earth alive yesterday. Technopreneur Mr. Lim Singh and his team are now finalizing their plans to send a Singaporean towards space on May 12 using a stratospheric balloon, usually filled with helium or hydrogen. 12 candidates are still in the running, although only 1 person will be chosen to pilot the capsule. Mr. Lim says they are constantly improving on the mechanics of the flight to ensure that the launch will be completely safe before sending a man into space.
We will now go through the whole design and the whole ops procedure, all the lesson learned from the first flight, which was a failure, I will put it that way, why we feel what was being improved, prove to the candidate that that is the case, you know, why the second flight test was successful, and then are there any more things to look into, review the design again, and with more scrutiny now, because now we're going closer to the date.
The first manned flight to 4,000 meters above sea level will take place on May 12 at Alice Springs in Australia. And once that is achieved successfully, the team will be carefully taking it step by step to reach its goal of sending the first Singaporean to cross the Armstrong line. We'll take another short break, but still to come on Singapore Tonight. From the analysis of a swimmer's body move to testing the force that a sprinter can take, science and expertise are put into use in helping Singapore's athletes gear up for the SEA Games. More in Spotlight when we come back.
Mr. Zaidi, besides the diploma in hotel management, it says here that you've been a manager with the hotel for many years. And you also helped to set up a new IT system and train front desk staff to use it. You've won the Service Excellence Award twice. Very impressive. Your bosses and colleagues speak well of you.
And you play badminton 3 times a week.
No wonder you look so fit.
There's a wealth of experience waiting to be tapped. Don't let age be the barrier.
Mr. Zaidi, congratulations. Welcome on board.
Must lose weight. Must look sexy for digital TV. Otherwise, the cellulite will be in digital. I feel skinny already.
Let's see.
Alamak, I gained a kilo?
2 more rounds.
Huh? Okay.
Grab Taxi is the largest taxi booking app which powers you to book a fast and safe ride across Southeast Asia.
Cleavage Biomedics aims to bring clarity to cancer by allowing patients to receive timely tailored treatments.
Ribbon's simple brand idea is about making luxury accessible. Our unique luxury ecosystem and sellers marketplace creates deep customer engagement and loyalty.
We seek out disruptive and transformational leaders from around the world to build them into prospective champions. Are you one of them? Vertex Venture Holdings, investing in future leaders.
Singapore's athletes are busy with their final preparations for the fast-approaching SEA Games. But aside from their own training, they are also getting an unprecedented level of support in other aspects from the Singapore Sports Institute. In this week's Spotlight, Nadia Jansen-Hassan takes a look at how some of the Institute's facilities can help athletes in their push for glory.
Danny Yeo has been swimming for Singapore for 9 years now. Apart from having a rigorous training schedule, the 25-year-old has worked with biomechanists from the Singapore Sports Institute, or the SSI, to fine-tune his technique. Biomechanists are experts in how the body moves. They look at everything from how a swimmer jumps off the starting block to his stroke rates and length, to his turns. Danny says such detailed analysis has helped him swim faster.
For example, my starts, I tend to enter at a weird angle with my legs a bit bent. So I worked with Ryan and he actually caught that on video, and we worked a bit with the coaches to change that. So I think that has helped my dive a lot. So I get a lot more speed at the start.
Movement analysis is one of the key services the SSI has been providing to national athletes since it was set up in 2011.
Most people think about the amount of funding or the amount of resource that you give in order to make an athlete successful. And at the Singapore Sports Institute, we're looking at how do we apply not only those types of resources, but how do we then apply the sciences to really building a battlefield-ready athlete.
In table tennis, for example, biomechanists can assess a player's response, their proximity to the table, the angle of the paddle, how fast they strike, and even the movement of the ball itself. These are factors that affect performance. And when the International Table Tennis Federation decided last year that plastic balls will replace the traditional celluloid balls at its tournaments, SSI biomechanists sprung into action.
So the SSI Biomechanics Department has set up this facility to see how athletes cope with the change in ball. So as you can see, they've placed some markers on this paddle and also my hand, which the infrared cameras over there will then pick up. And later on, they can then analyze this movement using 3D animation technology.
What they found is the new ball travels slightly slower with less spin, which affects where the players should stand.
So assuming that the old ball travels further down the table and the new ball actually lands on my side of the table closer to the net. That would mean that the athlete should actually position themselves closer to the table if they wanted to respond better to the new ball. So these are things that we can assess in 3 dimensions over here.
Movement analysis isn't limited to hands, feet and body positioning. They've got this eye tracker which, as the name suggests, lets them look through the athlete's eyes. They're using it for sports like bowling, which require high levels of focus.
What we've found for the bowlers who are performing pretty well at the moment is that not only are their gaze behaviors extremely consistent, it's very stable. What I mean by stable is, you know, your eyes don't look all over the place, but it's fixed on very specific locations. And after bowling, they actually keep their eyes on that point till the ball actually passes that point.
Take a look how this bowler stays consistently focused, which leads to a strike. Compare that to the unsteady gaze of this bowler, who doesn't quite hit all the pins.
So for this task, it's an eccentric handstand task.
Studying an athlete's performance can also help prevent injuries. Take sprinters who are prone to hamstring injuries.
Okay, pull, 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 pull! Back, pull, pull! Back.
This equipment can help assess why this happens. It allows for the hamstring to be lengthened to the same state it would be in if the athlete was sprinting, so sports scientists can test how much force it can really absorb.
By assessing that and then assessing the main power generators for the sprint, which are your hip flexor muscles, and forming strength ratios, that allows us to better understand whether there are any balances or imbalances. And if there are any imbalances, then we can work with our strength and conditioning coaches to tailor a strength conditioning program to help our athletes achieve that kind of symmetry.
In the past, when I first used this machine, was due to a hamstring problem. I mean, it was a repeated problem. So after using this machine, I kind of know what is wrong with my body. And so with a tweak in the program, after a prolonged period, I've been fine up all this well, yeah.
Although it is at the forefront of sports science, the SSI is constantly looking for new technologies to help athletes.
As you can see, this facility is currently under renovation, but come April this year, it's going to be a fully furnished altitude house, complete with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. This place can simulate being thousands of meters above sea level, where oxygen levels are much lower.
At sea level, oxygen levels are 20.9%. Imagine putting an athlete at 3,000 meters above sea level, where oxygen levels are 15%. When there's less oxygen, his body will produce more red blood cells. This will enhance his breathing capacity when he's back at sea level. The idea is to get athletes to stay in these chambers for 10 to 12 hours every day for 3 to 4 weeks. Doing this could increase the body's red blood cell volume by 1 to 3%. The SSI says this could last for about 2 weeks. But aside from getting athletes ready physically, the SSI also helps them mentally. National tennis player Sarah Pang estimates that tennis players spend only 5% of a match hitting the ball. This makes mental preparation crucial for the time they're not in action.
Having the resilience and the focus on court to know what you're doing, when you have to do it, and what you have to do is so important, but you can only have that when you have a certain sense of mental clarity to what you intend to do. My work with sports psychology has really helped me focus and has brought a deeper belief to what I bring to court.
Some of the things that we do includes teaching them mental skills, so things like goal setting, imagery, self-talk, and also we help facilitate some thought processes that can be helpful for them in their performances. Some of our sessions includes giving them the opportunity to just talk about other things in their lives that might be affecting them.
With all this help, it seems Team Singapore athletes are on the right track to go for gold this coming June.
And this has been Singapore Tonight. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.